Welcome in, welcome in. Hello, Green Jeans. Hello, Nine Tails. How we doing today? Pineappleless? I think you do it the other way too, and it'd be Mineapolis. Or Minneapolis. Minneapolis. That's what I was trying to say. Minneapolis. Just trying to relax before work. I understand that one. What's up, T-Row? Welcome in. How we doing today? So what are you guys up to today? I'm doing good. Doing all right, actually. Not great, but I'm doing all right. Just wanted to do some gabbing today. Fair warning, I will be, from what I understand, playing Bigfoot again with Raven and Ghost at 5 Central. I was just watching a video on how jobs are going. Kind of had you in mind, Nine Tails. And I also have another buddy that's looking for work right now. And how basically people are like putting on LinkedIn, applying for jobs, 600 and some odd jobs before they get chose for one. And that's a maybe. Some of them are over 700. And it's basically a lot of those job postings are ghosts. They're just ghost job postings. They're not real. Because they want to keep pushing people harder and make more money because unfortunately, the pandemic proved that they can do with less employees, that people will take it. No, same. Well, like I was telling you last night, I had, in early 2000s, let's see, between 98 and 2008, give or take, that 10-year span actually was a little before, so about 2015-ish. Sorry, 2005-ish. I literally had something like 253 jobs. And we're talking, if I got an interview, I got a job. Yeah, they know they can run with a minimalist crew because people keep going to the places that treat them like crap. And I mean customers. You see places with bad job postings or stuff like that. If you can, stop going to them. If you find out some company isn't paying well and they treat their people like crap, stop going there. That's the only way we can change these things, is actually treating the companies like they treat their people. And I know for a lot of us, it's the only choices we have. So, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying you can do it every time, but if you have the opportunity, don't do it. It's why I boycott Marvel and Disney. Been doing that for years because they treat their people like crap. They treat their properties like crap. All they're doing is trying to get money. They're not actually creating a story that's going to persist. They're not going to make it worth your time. If I could boycott Amazon, talking about, I would. But I can't. There's just things I have to get off Amazon, but I'm very picky about what I get off of Amazon. I do my best not to grab, garbage. I also do my best if I can buy it straight from the website, from the person. I window shop on Amazon, compare and do all of that. But like some of this equipment, some of this audio equipment, I bought from their website rather than through Amazon, even though I compared it all. I did my window shopping on Amazon. I would rather buy straight from the supplier. Sure, I might end up paying a little less or a little more depending on shipping, but mostly the prices are exactly the same. That's the thing, is if you can, do it. If you can't, you just move on. You take what battles you can win. That's really what it is that you fight the battles you can win. You know, I can't stop using Amazon. I can't stop using certain things, but I will try to minimize how much I can or how much I do use them because they're garbage. Or I do my best to, you know, make sure that they don't get the revenue from me. You know, ads are so terrible now. Like, they don't even speak to the person. They're not really good at showing anything, but they're injecting them in everything. And what this tells me is that people are getting so good at avoiding ads that the ad companies are having to validate their job. Rather than make a commercial people actually don't mind watching. Because, I mean, there were commercials back in the day that people didn't mind watching. I remember when people used to watch the Super Bowl for the ads. Not because they were big sports fans, but because the commercials were good. They were fun to watch. And we're not making fun commercials anymore. So why am I going to sit here? Why am I going to watch these? You know, if you can't tell me what's going on, what you're doing, what's the point? You know, if the ad is so disconnected from the item. Oh, great, ad. See, speaking of, so I guess I got to kind of, you know, fiddle fart around because Ninetales. I don't know, you know, advertising is such a garbage industry anymore because all they're doing is trying to convince you to buy the item, not describe the item. And there's a big disconnect between those two things. You know, show me an item that I want to use. And I think a lot of these companies that are using these predatory ad companies don't understand that if the ad company is describing an item in a certain way to not really explain what it is and how it works, and then when the person gets the item and they realize it doesn't work for what they wanted, I just shipped my, all right. Oh, wait, yes, I remember that. Okay, yes, I remember that. Right, ads used to be fun. I mean, the Budweiser frogs. You know, yeah, it was beer, but I mean, at least it was fun. Or, like, I remember when Dodge first released the Neon. I don't even remember when that was. What, 94? California Raisins, that's another good one. Or even the old weird friggin' Apple commercials with the esoteric music that you're hearing everywhere. You know, with the weird colors and all that, you know, minimalistic ads. But I mean, they at least describe what it was doing. You know, in the Apple iPod commercial, you know, it was people listening to music, dancing. Okay, that's what I'm going to be doing with the item. You know, it's showing that that's what it lets you do. You know, but what's commercials now? I can't even think of a good commercial now. You know, that actually describes what's going on, that what the item is for. You know, they're so disconnected from the reality of the item. They're trying to engage you in so many different ways that it no longer makes any sense. Advertising is garbage now. You know, just describe what the item does. Let me know if I want to use it or not. Don't sit here and try and convince me that this item's going to change my life and make $1 million. Oh, true, Cup of Joe. You know, but those are few and far between. You know, I remember when, you know, we used to hire celebrities to actually, you know, use the item in one manner or another. You know, I mean, it's so difficult to try and explain that advertisers are so disconnected from their audience that they don't even understand how to sell to them. Well, I guess I just did describe it. That's literally what it is. Like, they don't understand their audience, who they're trying to sell the item to. You know, some of these car commercials are so wonky. You know, it's like, just show me the car. Tell me what it does. Give me an idea of how, if it would fit for me. But instead they want you, they leave a QR code or a tag at the end where you have to go do more research on the item because they don't want to tell you everything about it. What's up, Gossip Girl? Welcome in. And I'm so tired of advertisers being so disconnected. I'm tired of advertisers not understanding that people just want to know what the item is so we can buy it or not. Let us make the choice. But yet they try to force your hand, psychologically speaking. Because that's how advertising is done now, is this whole psychological trick. And they've lost the plot. They use all these sorts of psychological tricks. And I honestly can't say when the last time I actually watched an ad. Like, legitimately, I can't bring an advertisement to mind. Like, even the sponsor segments that YouTubers do. Because they have to present the item in such a way. Like, I think the only one that's truest to it is what? Factor? Factor would be something I wouldn't mind checking out, but it's damned expensive. If they could bring down the price to compete with grocery stores and making it myself, I'd probably give it a shot. I mean, that's the whole point. Why am I paying more for just a slight bit of convenience when we're already in an economy that people can barely scrape by? I mean, like we were talking about jobs. Jobs are ridiculous. There's so many jobs out there that aren't actually out there. There's job listings. There's stuff that you're going to play hell getting into. Yeah. I mean, the new evidence is that in the next, 5 to 10 years, blue collar jobs are going to be the jobs, where technical or, not technical, but physical skills are going to be more important than your mental skills. And even then, in the next 20 years, robots are going to come for those jobs. But getting into maintenance, getting into plumbing, getting into electrician would probably be one of the best jobs to get into. Because that is just going to be a growth industry. The infrastructure is going to need to be replaced. So linesmen, electrician, those kind of things. I mean, there's even robots now that can cook chef quality meals. Yes, they're prohibitively expensive right now, but that's only a matter of time before the costs come down. Like, we're going to lose fast food jobs because most people, make a lot of excuses for fast food jobs. And that's a lot of people's, first job or sometimes their career. I don't see anything wrong with somebody working in a fast food job for their career. Same here, Rando. I don't do heights well. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Is that we're going to have to change things. I mean, there's even, the only job right now that, well, I was going to say, the only job right now that isn't looking like AI can take over is law. Right? Well, there's so many people. One, fast food has started hiring, retirees because retirees aren't making enough money on their retirements. Some of them lost all their retirements in 2008. It's not that they didn't have plans. It's just suddenly it wasn't there. All their money gone. This is why I will always say, invest in a Roth IRA. Don't do a 401k. Especially now with Trump and his freaking policies that just basically going to cheapen a 401k. Now your rates for actually making money off of it are going to dive bomb because of the requirements he's throwing out there. So 401ks are going to be useless. They're just basically going to be a savings account. So a Roth IRAs are going to be the only way to save for the future. So you youngins, put it in now. $250, $150. Put it in. Hell, even, $25 a year to put money into it is worth more than a 401k ever will be. from now on. 401ks are too volatile. Roth IRAs grow with you. The more money you make, the more you can put in. I would always figure out like a percentage that you can, survive 1 to 2% per year of your paycheck. That's what I would do if I was in the position now. Some of them have requirements that you have to have a certain amount of money to open one. So just, opening a savings account that you don't touch. Yeah, I know it seems really difficult, but if you automatically take the money out before you even really pay your bills and budget it properly, 1 to 2% of your paycheck isn't going to kill you. And once you get a certain amount of money, and again, I'm not a financial advisor. These are just things I've seen. Always talk to somebody that's financially literate. These are just things that I've learned over time. Once you get a certain amount of money, throw it into a 3-month CD, which is a certificate of deposit. That'll roll you over between 2 and 3% more than what you had before, which at $250 is going to be pennies. But if you keep doing this over time, you're going to earn a lot of money. Especially, once you can get enough money to open up an IRA. Oh, see, there you go. Once you open up an IRA with, say, $2,500, you can actually forget that you have it. Forget that you have that $2,500, and it'll certificate of deposit. It's called a CD. You can get them through banks. Again, always talk to the bank manager. Talk to somebody that's more financially literate than me. These are things that I wish I had known beforehand. Don't go with big brokerage firms. Their fees are extraordinary. So if you don't have the money, you're not really going to make a whole lot of money. And of course, the market's going to be volatile. A certificate of deposit is like you'll make 2 to 3%. They're a little bit better than a savings account. And you can only touch the money every, 3 months, 6 months. You can roll it over at certain times. One of my plans has always been, if I got enough money rolling in, have 3-month CDs that roll over, have 12 of them, or not 12 of them. Yeah, 12 of them of small, emergency amounts. Oh, nice. Have you just been, was it a 3-month CD or 3-year CD, or like have you just been rolling it over? How long was the CD set for? Out of curiosity. Okay, so you just kept it in and you could just keep rolling it over? See, once it would get to a certain point, I'd split it up between 2 of them. You might lose a little money, but it means you could always have an emergency fund every few months. You'd be able to grab it. You'd be able to use it. Yeah, once you get a certain amount of money, that way you have like every 3 months something rolling over, and they're like cycling. Like one's always popping up. So I'm not good at math. Okay, so like if you do one for 3 months and then set a month later, you do the other one for 3 months, and then you pop that. Yeah, I mean, of course, talk with the people at the bank. Maybe it wouldn't behoove you to split it up into 2. It just depends on how much money it's worth. And if you have a certain amount of money in that, it might behoove you to switch it over to a different kind of account. People at the bank, you can set appointments with them and talk to them about what your options are with your money. This is what rich people do. They tell the bank to, or a brokerage firm, if you can find a small broker that has a proven track record, use them. Or even just Edward Jones, or I can't think of any other, but these people get paid when you get paid. You lose money, they lose money. So yeah, you might be losing 10% over your all, but their job is to keep you making money. If you run out of money, and there's even things where like you can invest in a state. Oh, Still, same difference. But you were smart for keep rolling it over. That's, a certain amount of money, or maybe take half of that money and put it over in a Roth IRA and forget about it. Take $25 a paycheck, if you can afford that, $10 a paycheck, whatever, and have it automatically deposited in your IRA. That way you don't you don't see that money. So you never budget that money's yours. It just goes automatically into your IRA. If you're a 20-something now, that could be worth millions by the time you're 65. I'm not joking. Like, the actual compound interest on a Roth IRA can accrue to millions. And once you're 60, 65, you can withdraw it with no penalties. And then you can put it into, different little accounts so you can live off the interest and not really have to worry about whether or not Social Security is going to be there, or even how much you might get. That's just the point of it. Now, I don't know all the tax scheduling and BS that goes on with that, but I know, from what I do understand, Roth IRAs are actually outside of that tax bracket. So you won't have to worry about that until you withdraw the whole thing. So, still, it's a thing that you can do. See, my parents never knew anything about this. My dad thought it was a sin to save money. So anytime we had extra money, he spent it. I don't think we ever had anything in savings. Hell, my dad, read me a riot act because I wanted to open up a savings account when I was a kid, a child saver account. And then I ended up having to use, what I had in it to, when we were taking a vacation, because we ran out of money because, well, my family was not very money literate. And I've had to learn these the hard way. Different credit scores? Yeah, there are different credit scores. You didn't realize that, there's Experian. There's different credit reporting agencies. They're all bullshit. Basically, it's a balance of how much credit you have out there and how much you're using that credit. So, like, they always tell you, oh, you can improve your credit score if you open up a new credit account. Right? As long as I don't use it. But then, if you don't use it, the credit line, like a credit card, if you don't use it for a certain amount of time, they automatically close the account. Or they shift it over to a different. Yeah, exactly. I had to use mine so that we could get the tires fixed. Because I think we snapped a lug nut. But I was like 12. I don't really remember directly. I just remember having to use it. Good. My parents didn't tell me jack. Well, yeah, because secured loans are not worth anything. Unless, secured loans, all it means is that you loan the bank the money that they loan you back. That's really what it accounts for. Because anytime you go over the secured amount, you're losing money. Because you're not paying, your interest rates will change. Or if it's not changing, the interest versus what what you're doing. Yeah, secured loans are bad. The only thing you use a secured loan for is like a first credit card, and grow your credit, be responsible with it. Like, use it as a gas card. Every time you go get gas, use your credit card. As soon as you get home or just on your phone right there, pay the bill. Make sure it never hits the next billing cycle so they can't gain interest off of it, or minimal interest. And also, most of the time, secured loans have like a monthly or yearly fee that you're just wasting money to begin with. All you're using it for is to gain interest. That's actually one of the reasons why, once I got to a certain level, the best way I maintain my money is buying cars. Or maintain my credit score is buying and paying off cars. Getting a car financed. You're losing money, but you're also investing over time. Because, the car's never worth the value that you paid for it. As soon as you drive it off the lot, it's not worth the value. But what it does for your credit is worth all the hits you take. I think that's one of the reasons why a whole lot of people started telling you, cars, they depreciate, as soon as you drive it off the lot. It's just so people wouldn't realize that short of buying a house, paying off a car loan is probably one of your best investments. Never get a lease. Never lease a car. I'll just tell you that right now. That's not financial advice. That's coming from an actual experience my buddy had. He leased a car, and if you don't keep that car in pristine shape, you will pay through the nose at the end of the lease. Because all that talk about how a car depreciates? Yeah, you pay that difference depending on how much you drove, how much you did this, how much you did that. Leasing a car is one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. Buy the car. You can always trade it in for a decent amount back on a new car. Or like what I did, had full coverage even though I paid off the car, got in an accident, and I was able to put down payment on a new car. Okay, at least it wasn't jump scare. Jump scare is still broke, by the way, but I figured out how to stop it without closing out the stream and reloading. So I can do it. I still don't get it. I don't know why that's the one that repeats. Nothing else does. You can use every other alert in there. I even deleted jump scare and reloaded it, and it did the same thing. Like, I actually redid and put it back up because I thought maybe it was some way in the way I edited the clip. It's like, nope. I don't know what's going on with it. I don't know why it keeps doing it. Wish I could figure that one out. But yeah, I mean, in all the time that I've lived and worked towards, making my life better, it's always been just out of my reach. Like, I've saved up enough money to buy a house twice. Not counting the time I actually bought a house with only $500 down payment. But then, we had saved, we had scrimped, we had, done everything we could. And then COVID hit. And property skyrocketed. So we couldn't do it. Then we had some issues. We had to drain the savings. So we did it again. A few years later. We were going to move to Indiana because we figured out we could buy a house there. Decent price. My wife's union was there. She'd have work within a short timing. All that kind of stuff. And we were told, because we went through all the loan paperwork, we went through all the stuff. We were told that we needed to sign paperwork. We drive, pack up all of our, pack our belongings, give the rest away, load up our 2 cars, drive from Washington State to Indiana to find out basically it was a scam. That, the house isn't ready yet. We'll have to do this, because of this, because of this. You told me I was signing paperwork. In my mind, that means I need to be there physically to sign the paperwork. I had to be there to sign the paperwork. I drove 3/4 across the United States. So, okay, we had to say, we were told, it's not ready yet, it'll be a week. All right, so we had to stay in a motel for a week. Then it was another week. On the, at the end of the 3rd week of this, we're like, we're draining our savings. We don't have any money. That's how I ended up in Waco. It's like, that's how I ended up in Texas, is because we drained almost all of our savings trying to buy a house in Indiana. Now we're building it back up again. We're seeing what we can do. I mean, I am just so frustrated with the housing market and how nobody cares. Albeit we were going to buy a friggin' trailer in a trailer park. But that was something that we could sell back. That was something that we could turn over for a profit while we worked on, saving up more money. That was the idea is that go in here, do this, work, build money again, and sell, and buy an actual house. The houses in the neighborhood were actually fairly cheap in the area we were looking, and you got a decent amount for that. Sure, they're going to need to be rehabbed a little bit. I am not inept at housing repairs. Am I a carpenter? Am I a handyman? Not really. But I can fix most stuff. I can do a whole lot. I know a reasonable amount. Plus, I can learn from, YouTube. I can learn from manuals. If anything, if I can tell anybody anything, it's learning as much as you can. Yeah, when in doubt, YouTube. About as much as possible, especially when it comes to physical skills. Like if you can do basic repairs around your home, that'll save you tons of money. Tons of money. Now, if it's more complicated, of course you hire somebody out. But replacing a drain in your sink or replacing, the piping from the sink to the wall, sure. But as soon as you have to go into a wall, hire a professional. Don't do that yourself. As soon as you have to go through a crawl space, hire a professional. If you can afford it. If you have to, get under there and do it. But the reason why I say that is because if anything goes wrong, you can go to the professional and say, hey, you screwed up. And there's insurance, they have insurance against this. They have warranties, to fix the things they screwed up. If you do it yourself, the only thing you can do is look in the mirror and go, hey, dude, you messed up. And then you have to go back and do it again. That's why if you have to go into your wall, hire a professional. If it's outside the wall or like a basic electrical outlet, just remember, turn off your outlets, then unscrew things, pull the wires out, hook the 3 wires into the electrical outlet, put it back together. Simple as that. And I think people need to be more handy. Everybody, people, to fixing, down to fixing blinds. Figure out how to hang curtains yourself. It surprised me that some people didn't know how to hang curtains yourself. You have to find a stud to hang the curtain into. And I don't mean a stud to hang your curtains. Yeah. Okay, so most people will just put a screw in the wall. Okay, but do you pay attention that you find a stud and something actually secure to screw it into? Or are you just screwing it through the drywall and hoping a drywall screw will hold? A drywall screw and anchor. That's the problem. Is a lot of people just hang it in the drywall, and that's why it ends up pulling out of the wall and falling down half the time, because they didn't find a stud. They didn't find something for that screw to grip into. I don't know how many people's houses I've been to where their curtains fell down because they just screwed it into the wall. They didn't find a stud. Ah, okay. So, well, yeah, exactly. There you go. Ha. Right. And I mean the 2x4 in the wall is called a stud, Nine Tails. The reason why we call them studs is I don't know. Because the only other thing I know of a stud is a horse. So I don't know how a stud in a wall equates to a horse or a burly man, but I don't know. But it happened. I don't know. It's just one of those things that's just like, I know. I'm playing around, Nine Tails. Right? It's one of those things like I don't understand, little repair things. Like I watched people, basically lose full use of certain things in their house because they don't know how to repair it. And some of these things aren't that hard. You just have to go through and do it. But then again, Bakayagaloop. I don't know what it means, but it makes me think of, you big galoop. Basically a Goomba. Not too bright, but I can lift heavy things. Hee hee. I don't know. It's just, there's simple things you can do to fix things. Real easy. Now, is it going to be professional grade? Of course not. Professionals get the money for a reason. To say you can DIY something yourself and it's just as good as a professional you're just lying to yourself. Right. Bachiagaloop. I assumed anyway. Cappuccino. Well, and also, CCI can also be pronounced CH or a hard K. Right. It's little things that school doesn't teach us anymore. I think is more of like the whole thing I'm talking about. From financial literacy, to just general handyman stuff. That's what home economics should be. How to cook simple meals, how to make simple repairs, whether that be in sewing, whether that be in, general house repairs, and all the way over to simple financial literacy. How to run a budget, how to cook food on a budget. Mac and cheese. You want to elevate mac and cheese? 1-for-1 replacement, sour cream for milk. Instead of using the milk, you use sour cream. Before you put it to the noodles, you blend that up. Ah, okay. Got it. Now, right, see? Theater tech. You go from everything from electrical to building props, building background sets, to painting those. There's a lot of things that people don't realize go into theater tech. That is an amazing class. You're not necessarily the person on stage, but you're the one that's making the person on stage look good. I was both a theater kid and a theater tech kid. I have played Julius Caesar and Brutus and the soothsayer in Julius Caesar, depending on who was out sick or who, Yeah, when I actually was playing Julius Caesar and I had to be the soothsayer, beware the Ides of March, they actually had to use a recording of my voice because I was also playing Julius Caesar. And it's not because I was that great of a actor. It was because I could remember the lines. I was everybody's understudy. Beware the Ides of March. I always loved using that scratchy voice. I did a little dance when I was in football to help become more limber. Guys gave me shit over it, but I also didn't get into injuries as much. I did do a little choir, but found that I had problems with the teacher. He was really familiar with the females, and I basically told him off once, and so I got kicked out. I don't know if he ever actually was a bad guy, but he acted like a bad guy. And that was just creepy. Yeah. Another reason why in junior high I was in in-house suspension for so long. I don't know if, for those of you that weren't there, I broke the record in my school. I think I was in in-house suspension 180 days, and our school was only like 212 out of the year. Something like that. So yeah, a good chunk of the school day or the of my junior high career, I was in in-house suspension. Man, I was so productive. Because all we did was we had this little room. Oh, yeah. Basically, once I realized that I really liked just being left alone to do my work, I just started getting in trouble. Just enough trouble to get in-house suspension. Just so I could continue working at my own pace. The teachers couldn't keep up with me. That's actually how in high school I ended up in remedial math for my freshman year. I bombed through the school books half the year, and the teacher wasn't checked out to teach me anything higher. So that's how I got a beta test AOL 2.0. Kind of ridiculous and kind of funny, in my personal opinion. Yeah, I had a lot of friends in school, but, I kept getting in-house. I knew the principal on a first-name basis. Pete Stein was an awesome teacher. Used to be a Golden Gloves boxer that taught math. He taught me a little bit about boxing because, in-house suspension, teachers couldn't keep up. So I got taught a little bit of boxing. Unfortunately, the town I lived in didn't have a boxing gym, so I couldn't get into junior boxing. Or else, who knows? Maybe I would have been a professional boxer at some point. Maybe I would have got a scholarship and been a Golden Gloves boxer. One of my uncles was. But he couldn't box after he got squished by train cars. He survived it, but his stance was totally messed up after that. His whole pelvis was crushed. Really, really kind of brutal. So he couldn't, I don't know if you understand, boxing is from the core, not from the arms. All you really need the arm strength for is to keep your arm straight and hold it locked, but everything else comes from your foot and core. It's the twist. It's the coiled spring. You pop in, you punch with your whole body, not just with your arm. That's actually what most people make a mistake on. You got to bring that from your feet, and you got to have a good, strong core so it's not absorbing that strength. That's why boxers, are really always have the tight abs. Just for future reference. In fact, all basic martial arts, which boxing is a martial art, it's more about your core than about any arm or foot or leg strength. The core is the most important part, which is where most people fail. It's also why I have no real respect for, professional bodybuilders, because they're trying to get the Dorito chip, what's known as the triangle. They're trying to get that Dorito chip look, the wide shoulders, the narrow waist. The only problem is if you do that, you have no core strength. You're sacrificing your core. That's why the actual strongman events, if you ever watch those, dudes look like they're obese, like they're fat guys, but they're, hauling trucks, planes, buses. If you ever tried, hold out a battery, a car battery with both your hands out in front of you. See how long you can do it away from the body. That's a chore, because that also requires core strength, not just arm strength. Cleaning a cast iron skillet. I love cast iron. That's stuff you pass down for generations. Except for my mom got rid of all of her cast iron when they started coming out with the Teflon coatings and all of that. So, yeah, I didn't have any. Okay. We didn't really have. What? When did you pop in, Cryptic? And I forgot. Good job, Cryptic. Hey, it's fine, dude. We're still here. I know you had a busy day, so I wasn't super worried about it. If you were popping in, you were popping in. Yeah, Teflon is one of the most useless materials. Like, it worked for the time, but it doesn't last. And if you properly treat a cast iron skillet, you can get all of the benefits of Teflon. Like, it doesn't make sense. I'm doing good, man. I'm doing real good, even with the storm. You know, my internet's holding clear. My head's not too bad today with the storm, so I'm happy. I did sleep in, though. Holy crap. I slept in for me. I think I went to bed at around midnight, 1 a.m., and I slept all the way through till 11. Yeah, so I don't normally sleep in. I don't normally have to set an alarm. It was surprising. I just didn't want to get out of bed. And because I lived the life I do, I was lucky that I didn't have to. This is why you'll hardly ever see me set up anything before noon. Because I don't like moving earlier than noon. I never have. I'm a night person. Lately, I've been going to bed a little bit earlier. But mostly I think that's because most of my audience, wants to go to bed about, between 11 and midnight. I don't want to keep people up. So there's that. And then I don't have much to do after I edit the videos. I edit the videos right after stream. Yeah, night shift has always been my thing. I prefer night shift. Night security, night, it doesn't matter. I'll take a night shift. Any job. I know, I've done them. I've done a lot of jobs. I'll tell you one thing, I will never go back to telemarketing. I freaking hate telemarketing. Now, if I'm working at a call center where people call in with tech problems, I liked that job. That was fun. That didn't bother me one bit. And 9 times out of 10, your job is make sure it's plugged in properly. Which, I mean, if you ever go on a tech call, like you're having trouble, and the person gives you basically, oh, have you tried turning it on and off again? That solves 80% of issues. The other one is okay, if that doesn't work, try unplugging it, and plugging it back in. That solves the other one. If it's that 1% of escalation, then you just escalate it to the next guy. Simple as that. It might seem annoying, but having worked around tech stuff, having done all of that, 9 times out of 10, just unplug and plug it back in. Pure and simple. I mean, tech's finicky. And a lot of times all it wants is a restart. I don't know why. And the other time is that you just don't plug it in hard enough. But I don't know. I don't know where people were going, what people were thinking. Holy crap. I mean, that's not bad, but I don't know. That seems wonky to me. I mean, sure, if you had the money, that might be fine, but I mean, at worst, I would, I don't know. If it was me, I would probably, just take a share of whatever revenue the film brings. Right. See, that's the problem is that they're asking for a lot of money. Ooh. That sounds good. I just made some chicken and farro soup. Yeah, for a first short film, no. And non-experienced, no. No, you're all non-experienced. This is something that you do for exposure, to learn the process. You get together, you do it, you have fun. It'd be like if you asked me to narrate something, some part of one of your stories or something. I wouldn't even ask for money for that. I just do it because I want the experience. I'm inexperienced. I want to learn. I want to do it right. It's not like you're gonna make that money back off the short film. It's not like, the chances are it's not like it's gonna go viral. There is a chance, but you have to have so many things line up for luck. It doesn't matter how good it is, but YouTube's got to pick it up. And if it's too, I don't want to say racy, if it's too one way, YouTube's algorithm's not going to pick it up. Especially now with all the censorship going on. So, you're literally not going to be able to make that $500 to $700. Yeah. Well, if the investment, if it would persist over time, that's one thing. Like, I've invested a lot into what I'm doing here, and I haven't really made any money back. That's fine, because even if I quit doing this, I still have the items I paid for. But if you're doing a short film, all you have left over is the short film. And plus, you're not even going to have the masters, because the dude that's, asking $300 to edit and shoot the movie, he's probably going to keep the masters. Like, no, man. For how long of a short movie were you looking at? What are you considering a short? An hour? Actually, that's a pretty good. I wouldn't consider that a short. That's almost like an episode. But also, how long is it going to take you to shoot the 1 hour worth of actual film? Are these guys just asking for $25 per person? Or are they asking $25 per person per hour? Can you guys not hear me? Okay. Ninetales, you might be having an issue again with your audio. This was happening to him yesterday. Okay. Well, and see, that's like, sure, if you had the extra cash, spending the $700 for a 90-minute or hour-long short film. Right. That's not bad. But when, you don't even know the veracity of these people being used. You could end up with, a high school production that's not worth the money you spent. Right? Yeah, especially if they're not experienced. You can't expect to hire, experienced pay or get experienced pay for inexperienced people. And I don't think they're really understanding how much work goes into all of that. You have fun. If it goes somewhere, this might be an investment in the future, your time. Especially if they're friends. That's the weird thing is that if they're friends, that's just something you do and you have fun at, because you never know what you might get out of it in the long run. Either way, you spend a few hours having fun. I don't know, and I think that's the wonkiness is that everybody wants to get paid for what they do and not realize that there might be an investment in time. Right? Like you could actually pay people to animate something with that kind of price. Is it any wonder why AI is taking over? Because people don't realize that investment in time and that you can't just get paid wages right off the bat. I mean, if that was the case, why am I doing this? I'm not getting paid for this yet. Supposedly I am. I haven't withdrawn any money yet. I do it because I want to do it. I mean, I don't know. Just to me, it seems really wonky. Like, you think they would have been a little bit more upfront about what they were asking? And $90 for gas? How expensive is gas where you are? Like, that seems like an exorbitant amount. I mean, unless you're hauling a semi truck. Ah, okay. So you haven't seen them for 3 years, and they immediately ask for money. See, that would bug me. That's not friends. Well, I don't know what gas prices are in your area, but in our area, $90 in my current car could get me 12 hours worth of driving, give or take. Actually, probably longer. I might even be able to make 18. Yeah, a bunch of red flags, exactly. Yeah, and $300 for shooting and editing, that seems a bit exorbitant. Like, I would understand like 150, like half that price. $25 per person for each actor he brings. That kind of makes sense. $25, daily fee. That's fine. I actually can understand that. But $90 for gas and $300 to shoot and edit, that's too expensive. Yeah, no. No, that's way too expensive. Right? Well, I'm just trying to figure, my Kia Soul, I can drive back and forth to Texarkana on 2 tanks of gas, and that costs me about $70. And that's 8 hours worth of driving. I might be able to make, somebody's taking advantage. Yeah, that's really what it is. Oh, then, that's 1 tank of gas. Because if it's a small car, it should be reasonably fuel efficient. Shoot, dude. Yeah, and that just, I think people have an overestimated idea of what they're worth. And like they're trying to translate, it's like, oh, well, I get paid this much at my job, so I should get paid this much if I'm doing this for this guy. Well, is your job anywhere related to what this guy, doing? Like, I can build a computer, but I'm not going to charge somebody $50 an hour it takes me to build a computer. Really? $50 makeup artist? See, and what's really irritating is that if they were smart, they could understand that a lot of this could go into their portfolio that they normally have to pay people for. To be a model or to do this, they can actually use this as a portfolio with a studio to actually prove their work. Tater, a makeup artist who's going to college for makeup, will do looks and stuff like that to practice skills and sharpen up. And if it's good enough, adds it to the portfolio. right? Well, see, and I'll be honest with you, CT. See, if I was you, I mean, especially since you live in what Americans call an exotic location, which I know is somewhere in the Middle East. I'm not exactly sure where, but somewhere. I don't need to know. Which means you could get some very unique pictures and video that you could add to your videos just for fun, because they're unique locations that Americans don't get to see. And for you, it's, the local park, or it's this, or it's that. Oh, you're in Europe. Okay. Sorry, I thought you had said you were in the Middle East at one point. I'm sorry. Like I said, I have no idea where you are. Even if you're in Europe, who cares? It's still unique architecture, unique looks that you could use. The most Americans are going to look at and go, I have no idea what this is. It's unique. It's exotic. I mean, and it doesn't even have to really go with what you're doing. And that's all I mean is that because the majority of the audience is American, they're going to be looking at this and going, oh, that's really kind of cool to look at. Regardless, it's just a stupid elevation of what you do. I know certain places that if I still lived back in Washington, that I wish I had filmed. Because the dense trees, the forests, and realizing that this is literally just on the edge of town. I could make so much creepy aesthetic stuff off of that with just a little filtering and editing. European. Oh. Yeah. If they're talking together in a foreign language, and they know you don't understand the language, yet they all speak English or whatever language you speak. Like, I don't know. Yeah, that would bother me. Yeah, I okay. Well, I don't know, And I don't know. It's just one of those things that it would bug me. Now, it's not always that way. But if you're all speaking English ahead of time, or whatever, local language, blah, blah, blah. If you're all speaking one language ahead of time, and then they switch to a language you don't know, but they all know, yeah, that feels weird. Especially if they're supposed to be your friends. That is what feels weird to me. It's not so much like, okay, if this was like a business thing and you didn't know them and stuff like that, I could totally understand them speaking a different language, negotiations, negotiate from a stance of strength. It wouldn't bother me if I'm like trying to say, because I live in Texas, trying to hire a bunch of Hispanics to do something for me. And they're want to talk out, certain details to get a better negotiating position in Spanish. That's not going to bother me. I mean, why should it? One, it gives them a better, bargaining position. Yeah, see, there you go. And sometimes it's just a matter of a more comfortable language. But if you're the odd man out and these guys are supposed to be friends, that seems tricky. That seems sus. I don't know if they were talking smack or if they were making plans, but I mean, ransom demands, blah, blah, blah. Okay, Cryptic, I will tell you one thing. Never, ever tell people how much you make. when it's a negotiating thing. What I would have said is, well, I have this much budgeted for this. This is how much I can spend on it. Sure. Whatever that means. No, and I understand that. Yeah, see, that makes sense. Exactly, gossip. That means. Well, then, no thank you, Ninetales. I appreciate the offer, but no thank you. Yeah. No, and if you're uncomfortable, you just step out. Like, you walk away. If you're at the negotiating table and people are making you uncomfortable, you walk away. Because it means you'll never be able to trust them no matter how much on the up and up they really are. But because you're uncomfortable, you're always going to be on either a defensive foot or on the back foot. That's just the basics of negotiation. Well, I knew that culo is not a proper word either, but I don't really know what it means. Like, I know it's not or it is a proper word, but it's not something that normally gets said. Right. Well, and that's what I'm saying. Okay, yeah, see, I was pretty sure. Yeah, exactly. Or exactly, you were uncomfortable. That means walk away. And from then on, meet in public places if you have to meet these people again. Okay, yeah, ghosting them. I wasn't going to try and tell you how to take care of your friends, but that's what I would have done. It's like, no, you made me feel very uncomfortable, regardless of whether they were on the up and up. Whatever, you made me feel uncomfortable. I can't trust you, even if it's on me that I can't trust you. It's even if it is my fault. But you don't want somebody around you that's not trusting you. Nor do you want to be around people that you don't feel you can trust for whatever reason. Again, you might be wrong. But if you can't trust them, why are you hanging out? Yeah, exactly. Translate, Yeah, yes. You were not crazy. From what you're telling me, this would make me uncomfortable. And I'm normally pretty comfortable with some sketchy ass situations. But if they're asking me how much I make, one, that's nothing of their business. What is their business is how much I am willing to spend on this thing. Yeah, those aren't real friends. If that's all that matters. This is my budget for this thing. Like, I don't know if this really is going to translate well to the situation, but I used to work for this place, and I put in for, it's like, hey, I want this day off. Ah, okay. And they asked me why I want the day off. And I just looked at the boss and I said, you don't need to know that. Yeah, it gives me bad vibrations. Bad vibes. At least I'm pretty sure I don't know what the Elos me terán means, but malas vibración would mean to me bad vibes. Maybe I'm wrong. And I probably just slaughtered and butchered the pronunciation, and I apologize. Yeah, okay, yeah, see. Like I said, I grew up around Spanish-speaking people. Partially in Nevada. I spent, 6 years of my life. My best friend was Spanish. Mexican. So I can pick it up, but it's not something. Yeah, yes, exactly. Like I said, and I would toss them another $50 for editing. Editing's not an easy job. Filmography is not an easy job. This is actually a skilled position. So $100 for filming, $50 for editing. But me personally, being that it would be mine, ooh, nice. Right. Half price for that, $45 for gas. Because especially if it's only like 4 hours. I can fill my tank for $45. Unless your gas prices are double, which I don't know how much you pay for gas. Again, so that might be a reasonable thing, because I know America, we actually spend a lot less on gas than some places. I don't know. It's just one of those things that it's all around just bad vibes. And what was it, Nine Tails? Tlacuache? Is that Spanish? Yeah, boss. Okay. Sorry, it looks more Nahuatl than Spanish. Because I know a little bit about Nahuatl too, which is the Aztecan or Mayan language, one of the two. So basically it's 2 liters per gallon? Or is it 4 liters per gallon? That's still, okay, even at 4 liters a gallon, that's about $5 a gallon. $5.24. So, that's a little bit more expensive than America. It's still $50, I think, would be closer to what between 50 and 60, but not 90. See, every stage of this negotiation seems like they were trying to ask for a little bit more than what it actually would take. That's my feelings on it is that they're pushing, they're trying to squeeze you for everything they can. How many liters per gallon? I really now want to check that out. Okay, it is almost 4, so it's slightly less. So, where was it? 142 times 3.785. Because it seems like weird to me. Sorry, I had to find my calculator. 1.42 times 3.785. Okay, so it was a little over $5 a gallon. But, unless they have an absolutely crappy car that gets no gas mileage. Oh. Yeah, see, they were trying to basically carve you up for as much as they could. And yeah, I don't put up with that shit. We're supposed to be friends, even acquaintances. Let's work out a mutually beneficial agreement. Yes. I'm averaging about 35 miles per gallon, which is roughly about what my Kia gets. And they have an even smaller car than the Kia, so they probably get better gas mileage than that. But we'll just go with what I'm already getting. So if that's the case, 4 hours costs me about 35. So them being a little bit more expensive, and I'm not sure how many toll booths there are in Europe. How many they would have to go through. But even so, it's still, maybe the gas was on the up and up, but the rest isn't. Let's put it that way. Green Jeans. I'm just saying that, maybe the gas was on the up and up, but maybe the rest isn't. Because, he's asking a premium for, filming and editing. He's wanting 150 per, basically. 300 for filming, 300 for editing. Unless that was 300 for filming and 300 for editing. 150 for filming, 150 for editing, because he was asking for 300. Doing two jobs. Especially since the American dollar is stronger in Europe, meaning that that's actually asking more money than what it would be here, and I wouldn't pay that. I wouldn't pay a filmographer $300. $100 for film, $50 for editing. Especially for 90 minutes. They're just trying to squeeze money out wherever they can. And this is more of a larger problem. Everybody thinks that, well, he did say that they were unskilled or unsomething back here. Whoa, experience in photography isn't the same thing as videography. Lining up a good shot in filmography or videography is a lot harder than in photography because you have to include movement. That's why they're two totally separate industries. Now, a photographer may have a leg up on a layman when it comes to, videography, but they're still not a professional videographer. Okay. But still, it doesn't really matter. You weren't willing to pay the price. They didn't really, all their negotiating tactic was asking you how much you basically had. Screw that. That's the thing. Their negotiating tactic was not to even explain their prices, but tell you that you can afford it. Regardless of whether you can afford it or not, you weren't willing to spend it. And that's where the negotiations should have really started. That's where negotiations like, oh, okay, well, because they don't need to know how much you make. They need to know how much you're willing to spend on the item. If they're not willing to take that, then move on. Yeah, out of curiosity, have they done any projects before? Do you have any body of work to see? No. I didn't really have a huge plan on what to talk about. This is as valid as anything else. I will have to say that I'm going to need to be right back, but this will be quick. All right, back again. Yeah, I mean, honestly, with something like this, it doesn't matter if they have good work or not. You were trying to negotiate a price. They wanted to know how much money you had. What that tells me is that it didn't matter if they thought they were giving you a fair price. They just wanted to take you for what they could. Yeah. You have to remember to stand on this, regardless of somebody's professionalism, whatever, their qualities. If you budget something to do something, maybe you're unrealistic, maybe you aren't. It doesn't matter. You are the buyer of the item. Pure capitalism says that you can only charge what the market is willing to pay. Well, in this case, Cryptic was the market. Cryptic set a price that they were willing to pay. And if they aren't willing to do that, they can walk away too. But it's not about asking, right? Yo, LJ, how's it going? Welcome in, welcome in. Hope you're doing well. Oh, damn. My favorite British person. Yes, exactly. I'm doing actually pretty good. Normally, I feel bad during weather like this because we're having pretty cloudy days. What'd you miss? Some of Cryptic's quote-unquote buddies were basically trying to milk him for everything they could for a project he was trying to do, and we're basically telling him, yeah, they were trying to scam you. Right. Well, I mean, and you can't always do it like that. Sometimes you have to get, sometimes you have to, ask for pay. And, oh, yep, Green Jeans is making a meatloaf. Last I knew, Rando was working on his book. He's just listening in, making silly comments here and there. And T-Ro's been oddly quiet. Probably just listening in as well. Oh, we also talked some financial stuff. I like that. That's funny. I literally have the tag on this that, what is it? Mature language? Yeah, mature language. Anuses. Honestly, I don't care. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I'm trying to build a life raft off of Twitch and YouTube, with my own website. That's going to be a project because I have to learn how to do it. That's the hard part, is learning how to get all of this stuff done, because I know nothing about making a website. I know parts of it are going to cost me money. But I'm going to try and, like I said before. Yeah, the idea is basically to host some, my music, some unique videos that I'll put up on an offsite place that, you can buy for a certain price, is really the idea. I don't really know what the market can handle, so to speak, but if it's a monthly subscription, I don't know. Or if it's going to be buy a video per piece. Still working on that side. But I have secured the neonboss.tv website. That is my domain. So now I just got to figure out how to make it work. and how much it's going to cost me. Part of it is I'm hoping that I can make enough money off of off of Twitch to pay for that investment. Right. I'm not trying to make a whole lot of money, but I'm trying to, LJ kind of pointed at something, the censoring. That bothers me. If people have to censor themselves for somebody who may or may not even be here or even ever watch it. Right? Yeah, very much. Basically, Cryptic was trying to make a movie, like a small short film project, and he thought he knew some people that would help, and they just wanted to take him for money. And regardless of their skills, regardless of anything, he told them the budget that he wanted to spend, and they were trying to basically milk him for everything they thought they could get out of him. Which, I mean, it's not going to work. Oh, yeah. How was that? Because I'm curious. Because I watched the first ones. Well, and that's why I want to, create a life raft off of. Good, 7 out of 10. Nice. Well, and see, that's what I'm talking about is the censorship, the BS censorship. This is getting ridiculous. We cannot, child-proof the world because then nobody's going to grow up. I mean, then we're really going to have the movie Idiocracy. First start with the mouth and then, move on from there. Right. Hell, my kids could say foul language as long as they used it properly and not and not overused. My kids could say the words because they're not bad words. Humanity says they're bad words. Legata. But isn't that an Italian make? Anyway, and that's why I'm looking at trying to see what I can do outside of it. I don't know enough on really how to do it, but I have a buddy I can pick his brain. And he can help me and possibly even help me code it and all of that. Exactly. Because that's what it means to be an adult. When and where. Timing. That's funny. I just did. But I'll do it again because you asked so nicely, Cryptic. Well, I just finished all my water. I had 3 water bottles when I started this. It's okay. I've still got my half gallon of coffee. I'm still good. Well, it's probably down to a quarter gallon by now. Oh my God. Yeah, see? Like, it doesn't work. There you go. I hate school. No, I despise school. Right? I'm sorry. Well, exactly. I mean, oh yeah, you missed it, LJ. Me telling people that, yeah, for a while at least, I don't know if it still holds, but at my old junior high, which was between 4th and 6th grades, which I'm not sure where that places it, but basically between the time I was 10 to 14, somewhere in that neighborhood. My first year of junior high, I had the most in-house suspension days and hours, I guess, of any other kid ever in that school. Okay. Right. School is such a joke anymore. I shouldn't say that. I don't know about in UK where you are, or Europe, or anywhere else. I know in America, school's a freaking joke. They have kidified it so much that you can't really do anything. Right. Well, yeah, B.F. Skinner was, the responsibility of that. Aw. That's the problem is that college education or school, they're designing it not for general use application, they're just designing it so you sit in front of a computer all day or sit at a factory and just mindlessly do your job. Regurgitate facts, not on how to learn new ones. And I think that is the biggest atrocity to me, is that we're not teaching people how to learn and what it really means. Vetting sources is a big deal to me. To give the laptop the old Yeller treatment. Nah, people can't afford to do that right now. Which reminds me, I need to actually do something with my laptop and maybe make it useful again. Make laptops great again. I'm sorry. It's just something that popped out there. Oh. Yeah, me too. I went to high school. I pulled straight A's without even really trying. I walked away, just never went back my last year. Went to college, and basically they still couldn't teach me. They couldn't keep up with it, with what I could remember, with how fast I could go. And I was just bored. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the problem is they told everybody, oh, get a college education. So everybody got a college education. Now it means nothing. But also at the same time, they degraded the level of the education. The education isn't special anymore. Basically, an AA is slightly better than high school education, where it used to be in, say, like the 70s and 80s. Now an AA is basically just what they used to teach you in high school with some specialties. What's up, dude? And again, that's in America. I don't know anywhere else. Well, because the school system is glorified babysitting in America. And most of those people that were eating Tide Pods were American children. Oh, driving's fun. I used to drive for a living. You don't have a driver's license? I don't know how it works in Europe. Driving is kind of scary. EXO, no. Tide Pod's bad. You can kill yourself if you eat them, apparently, or something like that. Okay. And, I've driven for a living. Yeah, exactly. You want a job? Well, and like we were talking about earlier, AI is basically going to take everybody's jobs here shortly. So, well, at least, book work. Well, at least until AI figures out how to do your job, LJ. I know here in America, AI is taking everybody's jobs, and those jobs that aren't being taken are blue collar work. So they're going to need a whole lot of skilled tradesmen soon. and women. Same, actually. Well, driving is a very interesting skill. Some people have it, some people don't. I think more people have a driver's license than should. I think we actually, at least in America, we need to make it harder for people to get. Oh, okay. You're talking. Yeah, I know exactly which one. Um, Yet. Okay. Well, okay, that makes sense. That's the good thing. But only how many people do they need for your job worldwide? Don't tell me specifics. I know that you're not supposed to, but I mean, what's the average number of people in your job that work in your industry? Yeah. So I mean, if everybody went out and got a, nuclear physics degree to do what you do, there would still be a whole bunch that are out of work. And Cryptic, that's mean and funny. You better have a dash cam. Start a whole channel just for your dash cam, antics. Yeah, I mean, I think we need to make. Yeah, exactly. Okay, that's funny. But driving is a very difficult job and a difficult skill that they let everybody do. No, no, no. What I mean by like your specific degree, how many people like you are at your job? Not just the people that help maintain the building, the industrial site, contractors, stuff like that, but how many people are required to have your degree? Because most of those, 20,000 are going to be blue collar workers. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you want to make it easier for self-driving cars? Put only self-driving cars on the roads. Ah, well, see, there you go. I'm just trying to say, that you can sit there and like, oh, I have a great job. I can do this, and it's, AI is not going to take it. But there's only so many positions for that job. Oh, joy. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I would actually prefer buses or light rail. I think, me personally, I think America needs to replace its mass transit, or not its mass transit, its freeways with rail. Oh, I'm sorry. Now what's happening? I mean, I know Swicario was sick. Okay. Layer 7's guy wants a break. Ah, fun. So what are you going to do? Oh my God. Well, I mean, I'm willing to try. I know I don't have a name in the industry or anything like that, but I mean, if you want somebody to fill out a recording, I'm willing to try. I don't know what I'm doing, but again, I'll try. Oh, okay. Well, then yeah, I can do it. I have a fabulous voice. It's absolutely wonderful. I mean, send me the script. I'll make a recording. That's the best I can say. I'll do my best. I'll try to make it worthy of what you've got. I can try. Send me the script. I'm pretty sure I can do it before the 19th. I can probably knock it out Friday. Now, do you want me to pre-edit? Well, we'll deal with the details later. I'll talk to you after this, so to speak. Because in 15 minutes I'm going to go, and then we can talk in private. But yeah, more than willing. Yeah, that gives me 6 days to do it. Yeah, I can do it before the 19th. Sorry, I just realized, it's only the 13th. Yeah, 6 days to record, what, half hour, 45 minutes? Yeah, I can do that. You should already have it, Cryptic. Or just drop it into that file folder that I opened for you. Because I can send and retrieve files out of that. Where I drop that music for you. Yeah. You can just drop it in there. I can get it through there. You should already have my, email address and all that through that, so it works. Off the coast of contemporary North Carolina, on Roanoke Island, a party of English colonists settled in 1587. Or would you want me to read it like, off the coast of contemporary North Carolina, on Roanoke Island, a party of English colonists settled in 1587. All right, man. You have a good one, Green Jeans. I can do it in very different cadences. Not characters, but cadences. However you want it. The creepy one first? All right. Off the coast of contemporary North Carolina, on Roanoke Island, a party of English colonists settled in 1587. I can do that. I don't know how much, honestly, it's cryptic, so yeah, the heavier style would probably be best. Well, maybe not. I'm trying. That's kind of why I'm doing, or trying to get to the point of doing some other work or not other work, but, doing some videos that I record without being on stream, and I'm going to load them on the Neon Boss channel. Oh, okay. That'll be fun. Dear XO, we are sorry to inform you that... Oh, wait, that's more William Shatner. What am I doing? Dear XO. Dear XO, we are sorry to inform you that you have been rejected. Again, please quit sending us these letters. Sorry. I'm just goofing off now. I'm having fun. Like last night, the video I edited at the end of the stream for one of them, because Rando had made this joke about saying Michael Jackson's name 5 times in the mirror, and El Hee Hee will get you or something like that. And I ended the video, I just cut it off at me going, El Hee Hee. That was the last. Yeah, Shamon 3 times in the mirror. El Hee Hee. Yeah. It was just something funny that Rando did. It was just I am fueled by spite and rage. That's why I keep, applying to Harvard and they keep telling me no. Someday I will actually take the SAT. Yeah, that's what it was. That what it was. But for some reason, was like, all right, well, I'm going to end it tonight, guys. And then I cut the video. I don't know why. I don't know why I did it, but whatever. I just try to be fun, I mean, I know I talk about some heavy subjects sometimes, but I can also be funny and have fun. But yeah, it's getting about that time. No, I still got 10 minutes. All right. I don't know, like between all of this stuff, like I'm just excited to mess around. You have a chicken in the oven. I hope it's not a live chicken. Well, you might want to check on that. My chicken. La 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 lava chicken. Chicken. La 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 lava. Chicken. Sorry, is that like a bun in the oven? No, it's a chicken. All right. I will check here real quick because that's actually simple and easy. Oh, nope. Wrong one. Oh, well, it helps if I'm on the wrong or right. I will let you know. Oh, darn it. I'm not answering that at all. Where did I put those? Sorry, I'm trying to find what CD sent because I'm brain fart. Hokey Cokey? Is that the 80s version of the Hokey Pokey? I know you're trying to say hokey. Yeah, I get it. There it is. Jeez. Or is it in my email? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I got it. Cryptic. I've got it. Just letting you know. Sorry. Okay, now that I'm not distracted. No, we have the Hokey Pokey. Yeah, and there's like slight variations. Do the hokey pokey, turn yourself around. Are you? Man, it has been so long since I've had to worry about it. And it's turn yourself about. That's what, or no, it's turn yourself around, and that's what it's all about. Oh, the hokey pokey. Yeah, for some reason it's pokey here, not cokey. Put your left hand in, you put your right hand out. Put your left hand in, take your left hand out. Put your left hand in, shake it all about. And that's what it's all about. The hokey pokey. Yeah, that. We just call it the hokey pokey, not the hokey cokey. Right? The hokey pocky, the hockey pocky. Put your left stick in, pick your left stick out. Put a fist in the face, because that's what it's all about, because it's hockey. Right? I mean, you can just do whatever. All right, folks, I think I'm going to end it just a hair early